be easy to meet, but hard to get into a relationship with. And quite often, we're so concerned with what we're looking for that when we're on the apps or even out and about in real life, or people say, I want to set you up with my friend,
Mhm.
we become hard to meet. And you can't make a judgment call on someone without meeting them. And so,
Folks will kind of guilt you if you're on these apps and stuff. Though, you didn't answer me. You just, well, they're kind of telling you a lot. They already told you that it's delete time. If you're not married, you're just talking on a computer. So is that safe?
I think it depends on.
Hello, welcome to the Blue Zone Lifestyle Podcast, where we're redefining how to live longer, love deeper, and thrive after age 40, 50, and beyond. I'm your host, Dr. Yvonne Beckford. I'm here to guide you through proven principles of the world's longest living community, the Blue Zones. Each week, we're going to explore powerful habits of wellness, beauty, purpose, and relationships, all designed to help you age gracefully, live fully, and find joy in every moment. From expert interviews to practical tips, this is your go to space for embracing longevity, living life on your own terms. If you're ready to feel vibrant, purposeful, and unstoppable after 40, you're in the right place. Let's get started. I am thrilled to welcome Miss Cassie Schroeder. I'm going to say a little bit about you. She is a dedicated dating coach who helps women navigate breakups, understand attachment styles, and make empowered choices to find meaningful love. With a master's degree in leadership and certification from Jane Jewell's Transformational Coaching Academy, she blends academic expertise with compassionate, real world guidance. Cassie's not teaching from a pedestal. She spent 20 years dating before learning how to choose a secure, emotionally available man. This lovely lady's getting married in 2 weeks, girls. Okay. She's a passionate advocate for minimalism. She has a book on it, Intentional Living, Simplifying Life, to create space and joy for connection. Let's get to it. When she's not coaching, she's doing yoga, reading, the golf. I'm actually about that. And spending time outdoors. We're going to talk about this disc golf. Never heard of that. Okay. All right, darling. Talk to me. Blue Zone communities emphasize strong ikigai. Ikigai is Japanese saying for a reason to get up in the morning. How can finding personal purpose help someone attract healthier, more meaningful relationships from your point of view?
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me. I'm loving this topic of combining dating and relationship focus with the Blue Zone communities and Ikigai. I love it. And it's so important to have a passion when seeking a relationship. And you did mention, my focus on attachment styles, and I was
Mhm.
thinking, about how I would answer this. And here's what I would say. I'm going to give a little bit of a background on
Mhm.
attachment styles for people maybe who've never dived into that or dove into that before. When you are anxiously attached, and that is your attachment style, you tend to feel very fearful when the person you're dating or that you have feelings for is not around. When you're avoidant, then you very quickly feel claustrophobic and overwhelmed when someone gets too close. When
Mhm.
you're secure, you're kind of right in the middle. And having a hobby, in a way, is a great litmus test for yourself and for the person you're dating to see some information about their attachment style. And I'll give you an example here. You mentioned the disc golf that I'm very much into. It's basically golfing with a frisbee instead of a ball and a club. and I love it. I think it's really fun. It's a very odd sport that not a lot of people are into. I love it. I've
Mhm.
taken my fiancé a few times. He
Mhm.
does not love it. He'll come with me on occasion, but he
I'll have to
just
come
doesn't
visit.
really yeah, he's just not into it.
Mhm.
He is into sporting clays, so that's a whole different activity that he loves.
Mhm.
I tried going with him one time. I hated it. And so we have these 2 very different hobbies, but the thing is I have dated people in the past
Mhm.
before I healed myself, before I did all this work, when I was very anxiously attached, and I would meet someone and my hobbies and passions would disappear because
Mm.
I felt like I always needed to be with them. If you're dating someone who's anxious, they won't be comfortable with you having a hobby.
Mm.
And so when you are secure, which anyone can become secure, and then you find someone who's secure, they're very comfortable with you going off and doing your own thing if that's what you want. In fact, my fiance and I spend a lot of time together, and I
Mhm.
think he loves that I have this thing that I can go do so
Right.
that he can then do things around the house that he wants.
So he doesn't have to complete you. You complete yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Mhm,
that's great.
mhm.
Wow. Um, and thank you for explaining different because folks don't know. And I remember you had an exercise on familiar, and people's familiar becomes their normal, even though it's not normal. Is that safe to say? Right.
100%.
Right.
Mhm,
So there's no. They train you how to drive a car. They don't know. They don't teach you how to, interrelate. So
mhm.
it could be generational misguidance.
100%, absolutely.
A lot of blue zone cultures practice gratitude, as a daily ritual. How can practicing gratitude for past relationships lessons open the door to healthier ones, more loving connections in the future?
There is no greater place for growth than growth that you experience in a relationship.
Mhm.
So I often hear women say, "I wanna date, but I need to work on myself first. I
Mhm.
need to fix myself first." And there may always be an element, depending on trauma or other past experiences, that, are right after a divorce, right after a bad breakup, where you do need to take some time to yourself. But it's something we want to think about and really focus on not preventing that mindset from ever allowing ourselves to get back into dating, because dating can be the greatest trigger, which then can result in the greatest growth. That can just be from interacting on the apps at the very most basic, lower level interaction, all the
Mhm.
way up to how we might feel 3 months into a relationship. But the you can work on yourself, this is what I say, till you're blue in the face and
Right.
think you're all ready to go, and then you have one date and you're right back at square one.
So it's a process.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not.
Absolutely.
'Cause nobody's going to be 100%.
Mm-mm.
No two meals are the same.
Nope.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that's my ad lib, but it's
I
true.
love it.
Yeah. Blue zone. We talk about relationships with family, friends, to longevity. Um, how do you think someone could cultivate fulfilling social circles while searching for love? So in the meantime, you're working on yourself in conjunction with finding true love. How does that come together with social circles? What do you think?
Absolutely. I all of dating and relationship thoughts and advice are opinions. So,
Mhm.
my opinion, and there may be coaches out there that disagree with this,
Mhm.
is that you really want to surround yourself and discuss your dating and relationship journey
Mhm.
with the type of people who will support you, encourage you, not judge you, and who, if you can find them, have the relationship you're looking for. And so sometimes this may mean putting boundaries around not discussing your dating and relationship journey with the people who always tell you you're doing it wrong. What
Mm,
can happen when we start to grow is the people in our circle who aren't ready to grow along with us can be intimidated by it. And they want to discourage that growth because they feel like, wait, wait, don't leave me back here, come back. And
mm,
so we might say, I didn't want a second date with this guy because of this. And then our friend might say, well, you're being way too picky.
mm,
And if it's around a core value of yours, that's not too picky. That's inner
mm.
growth where you have learned that this is a non negotiable for you. And there may be people that aren't quite as fun to talk about, but they're in the marriage that's happy and calm and healthy for 30 years. They're the ones you want to go to share your journey with. And there may not be as many, but they are the ones that will keep you calm and grounded and moving towards that goal.
And have realistic expectations.
Yes.
Right, because
Mhm.
perfectionism usually comes from it's unattainable,
Yes. Good
Yeah,
point.
yeah. They say that, people in blue zones live longer because they're in supported communities, like what you just basically mentioned.
Mhm.
How is important is feeling emotionally safe and supported when building a lasting romantic relationship?
Oh, it's crucial.
Mhm,
When you're this is the first secure relationship I've ever been in my life. This is the first relationship I've ever been in my life. And you talk about being in your 40s. I'm in my 40s. This is going to
mhm,
be my first marriage.
mhm.
I've never had the experience of no matter what I share with my fiance, there's not defensiveness as a response. There's not judgment. There's not pullback. And he really is the secure one, and I will
Mhm,
always have this tendency to lean
mhm,
towards anxious at my core. Because I
mhm.
have found him, I am now secure, and I can't tell you the mental health benefits and the emotional health benefits. I'll always tell my clients being single is better than being in a toxic relationship.
Tell me about it.
And then the yes,
God.
and then right. So that
Yeah.
difference, that peace that you feel being
Mhm.
single versus in the toxic relationship, it's the same increment of increase in calm when we then find the secure relationship.
Yeah.
And so it's just and I remember people telling me about it before I found it.
Mhm.
I always talk about the poem "I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings" by Maya Angelou because that's what it is. It's like I couldn't imagine what it was like. It can't be put into words until it's experienced, and then you understand.
It's interesting when you talk about be careful of the type of people that you discuss your plans with. It's almost
Mhm,
like is even in business. They I tell a lot of times, being a dentist forever, I'll hear things that really doesn't affect you. Like you get the best opinion sometimes from strangers because they're not vested in making you miserable and that they have nothing to be jealous about. You get some of the most in-depth conversations because I travel a lot. People you've never met when you're changing your oil, they'll tell you the truth, and they're not going to come back and haunt you. Well, I told you that person was no good, that
mhm.
kind of thing. So I hear you with that. What small blue zone style habit could someone adapt today that could shift their mindset toward love and relationships? So because since we're talking blue zone, we're not talking about people in their 20s and 30s. We're talking about grown folks. What kind of habit do you think they could adapt to change their mindset?
Doctor, I'm going to bring up minimalism here, right? A
Mhm.
lot of the people that live in blue zone locations, just because of the nature of where they live, there is no room to have a giant
No.
house with a
Mhm.
lot of things in it, right? And they're they're minimalists, because it's their culture and maybe by force.
Mhm.
And my book that I wrote on minimalism is specifically geared towards Americans because I saw that what a lot of the time the resistance I would get when I brought up the topic was like, well, I like my big house. I want to have a space for the gym. I want to have a space that's my office. And
Mhm.
what my response to that is, you can have a large house in America and a large car if you want, and 2 houses, and still practice minimalism by being conscious of not surrounding yourself with clutter
Good stuff.
within that house. Mhm. And so, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say I live in a, 2-bedroom apartment with my
Mhm.
fiancé and his daughter. No, I have an office, he has an office, there's a playroom, but we are very, very conscious of constantly going through things and saying, "What can we give away? What can we trade? What can we sell?" So that we don't fill the home with so much stuff that there's nowhere to move when we're in it.
Yeah.
And when we start to do that physically, it naturally bleeds over into the emotional and mental space in our life too.
Mhm.
And if we cannot get rid of physical things, it can be a symptom that maybe we want to work on the mental and emotional side of letting go, which will then result in us being able to let go of physical things.
That's deep. Your voice is so soothing. I've always told you that.
Thank you. Yours too. Yours too.
I did. If I got a headache, I'm calling you. You're like, just talk to me. Okay, yeah. Okay. There I go again. Okay.
I
So
love
the
it.
blue zone residents, right?
Mhm.
They live intentionally, right? That's what we kind of
Mhm.
talked about to avoid distractions. How can someone be more intentional about the qualities they seek in a partner while still staying open to love surprises?
Yes. Here's what I would say. I
Mhm,
wish I could think of who I could credit this quote to, and I can't, but it is not mine.
mhm.
It's another dating coach who said, "Be easy to meet, but hard to get into a relationship with."
Mm,
And quite often, we're so concerned with what we're looking for that when we're on the apps or even out and about in real life, or people say, "I
mhm,
wanna set you up with my friend,"
mhm,
we become hard to meet, and you can't make a judgment call on someone without meeting them.
uh-huh,
And so that would be the first step, be easy to meet. And my second piece of advice would be, especially at this stage in life, this may not be the case when you're in your 20s, but
mhm,
40s, 50s, 60s, when we're dating,
mhm.
most of us are looking for some kind of a relationship, not
Right,
just to date once or twice and have fun. It may not
right.
be marriage, and that's okay, but some kind of relationship. And so don't be afraid to dive into those deeper questions that teach you about values
Mhm.
very quickly, and you can ask them with a positive twist, not a negative twist.
Okay.
And so say something like, "What's your favorite part of your job?" Or "What's your
Mhm.
favorite thing about being retired?" Or "What was the best part of your week?"
I'm writing this.
Or if you hear someone yeah, if you hear someone mention a career change in
Right.
their past or currently, you could say, "Wow, that takes a lot to make a career change. Was that scary?" And
Mhm.
so it's not, you know, necessarily going deep. People think deep means negative. You can go
Right.
deep with the positive.
It doesn't have to be a job interview.
Yeah.
Be a life
Mhm.
interview. Is that
Yes.
safe to say? Yeah, 'cause,
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people that they approach dating like they're getting for a job. So where do you work? How long you been working there? Right?
Yeah.
Versus and that's a great way to I told a young person, I said that, she goes, "So I'm no expert. I just lived for a long time." I said, "Ask where they like to vacation, then you'll know." If they
Yeah.
Right, ask where they like to vacation. If their idea of a vacation is going to Six Flags, that tells you something.
Yeah.
That's a day trip, so there's nothing wrong with that. Okay,
Nope.
can someone create like a relationship wellness routine similar to a Blue Zone inspired daily practice that nurtures self-love and builds a foundation for future relationship?
Absolutely. There's a few
Mhm,
things I can think of. One, it can be easy to become overwhelmed with the amount of apps you can go on, the amount
mhm,
of people you can be conversing with. So I would say stay conscious of that. I used to, all right, I do guide my clients like the rule of three, no more than 3 apps, no more than 3 conversations at a time. If people are reaching out to you, you can just kind of leave them there, and then
mhm,
once you're down to less than 3 conversations, kind of like cycle through them. I've talked to lots of clients where they're like, "I'm not talking to anybody." And then you look at the app and there's like 20 conversations that were started and then never finished. So we want to close the loop and be conscious there. And being intentional
mhm.
about who you're looking for can take some reflection on the past and internal reflection. Try to
Mhm.
write down your top 3 to 5 values. You
Mhm.
can Google a list of them and look through them and decide what your top most important ones are and ask questions around those values early on. Another tidbit, you could put them in your profile, and then on your date, you say, "Did you see in my profile how a strong work ethic is really important to me? What did
Yeah.
you think about that?" And then it's a
That's
very
good.
open-ended question. You hear their thoughts, you see what a work ethic means to them. It's a very subjective term. Um, Another thing you could do, dating can become very exhausting when our dates are long. So I always advise my clients, as much as possible, have a phone call before the date. It is so much less exhausting to have a 30-minute phone call than going straight to a date.
Right.
And don't be afraid to say you'd really prefer first dates to be coffee or a walk. I
Mhm.
always used to say coffee or a walk. It's just
Right.
not as tiring as a whole dinner. These are all things that can keep your emotions and your energy up while you're dating and not be so draining, which is important in life.
When we talked about boundaries,
Mhm.
I see a lot of times uh, folks will kind of guilt you, or try to, if you're on these apps and stuff. Though, you didn't answer me. You just said, well, they're kind of telling you a lot, and I've told they already told you that it's delete time. You don't really owe anybody anything. Is that safe to say? You don't really, you're not married. You're just talking on a computer. So, what do Okay, done, and move on. Is that safe?
I think it depends on the turnaround time.
Okay.
So, if someone writes to you and they write back in the same day and they say, "Where have you been?" That's too quick.
You cray cray.
Right,
I'm
right.
just saying.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
and what I like to say, it is nice to bring things to a close when we do know, to not ghost people to an extent. If we go on a date and we leave the date feeling, "I really didn't need to go on another date," and they never reach out, then it's like a mutual thing.
Right. Right.
If one person reaches out to the other and the other one doesn't wanna date, it's nice to say, and I think a great thing to say that is hard to argue with is, "I know in my gut we're not a match." It's hard for someone to argue with a gut feeling.
Right.
Like, you can't come back with, "Oh, well, wait, let me try and convince you why your gut feeling may be incorrect." I mean, you can't.
Or be a coward like me. I always say, it's not you, it's me. It's not you, it's me. I've got, I've got bubonic plague, and I don't want you to get it. Okay, let me stop. Okay, I'm being very generous. That is wonderful. Yeah, and people ask about that. Dating never ends. I know that in senior living facilities, it's like a college dorm. So
Yeah,
this kind of stuff needs to be talked about, and love, relationships, into connections, the would you say that most people are connecting through dating sites, or playing disc golf, or what's that thing you do? What's that?
yeah. It is so
I've never
fun.
heard of that. That's
Oh
something
my
new.
gosh, it's so fun. I'm sure I know there's courses everywhere, but you kinda
Uh-huh.
have to go and find them, but it's
Now that
great.
I know.
They're always
Yeah.
in public parks, and so it's free. So when you play ball golf, it can be 80, $150. With disc golf, it's free to play.
Mhm.
And it's great because 'cause you're outside, you're in nature, it's low impact, it doesn't take as long, it takes about half as long as ball golf, but it's the
Mhm.
same mental concept of
Right,
focus
right.
um, and I forget what your question was dating on
Yeah,
the
I
app?
forgot well, I know, well, everything. I connect with people a lot of times through travel, and they become.
Mhm,
I personally see friendships in different categories. One, almost like one person, as you were saying, they're not supposed to fill every need, you know.
mhm,
And even
mhm,
in platonic relations with girlfriends or male friends, everybody has categories of where they need. I got certain friends that I know if something's going on with a handyman, that's who I call. I've got
mhm.
certain friends that I travel with. So with the dating and relationship aspects, are most people meeting through social media, or are they still going the old fashioned where they have to meet in person, or a combination? What do you think?
I think you can meet someone anywhere.
It's got to be open.
Yes. I mean, I've officiated a few weddings just for fun, and I've been in quite a few, and
Mhm.
literally the people whose weddings that I've been in or officiated, they have met, like, on Bumble, eHarmony, through friends, the gym, blind dates. It's a
Yeah.
whole gamut. The
Mhm.
key is, in my opinion, the Me Too movement had so many amazing conversations, valid, valuable conversations come out of it. What
Mhm.
else it did was put a little bit of fear in people to approach other people, because
Mm.
now we're all conscious of not wanting to ever make someone feel uncomfortable in a networking event, especially at work, but even playing disc golf. There's a new consciousness of that. Well, because of the fear of making people uncomfortable, no one ever wants to ask anyone out. And so, what I would say, as the woman, the difference is now if you meet someone online or in person, be really aware of the fact that it can be terrifying for men to approach you. They don't want to be like on a hidden camera at the gym and then go viral. They don't
Mhm.
want you to get upset and start yelling. They don't want a human resources complaint against them.
Yeah.
So as women, you kind of have to make it really clear, if you were, let me know if you'd ever like to get coffee sometime,
Mhm.
or just here's my number.
Mhm.
And then
So everybody's not Chester the molester?
yes, right. Well, and then you'd find out quickly if they are, you know
Right.
what I mean? But at
Okay, I got
first
a name for him already.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
But at first, it's okay to give the man permission to pursue you very overtly and very clearly, and then sit back and observe if they do.
Who should pay for coffee first go round? It depends on the circumstance. I mean, it's just coffee. Me
And
personally, if you ain't got $10, I mean, come on now, really? I mean,
yeah.
I'm not saying, you gotta be going to Papados or this, that, and the other. I mean, I'll throw the gentleman, the engineer in there. Is there room for traditional roles? Because I'm going off my thing. Is there still room? Because in blue zones tend to be more traditional communities,
Mhm.
right? And tradition, I mean, when I was in what was I in Ghana, the weavers are men, so that's traditional for them. The women handle the money, not count the seed, so to speak.
Mhm.
So in American dating, is there still room for traditional roles? Should it be in
Oh,
favor? Yeah.
there's a ton of room for traditional roles. I would almost say who pays on the first date can depend on your opinion and thoughts and feelings and values around
Mhm.
gender roles that you see in the relationship. So if you're
Right.
the type of woman where you're really wanting a caregiver, or I
Mhm.
shouldn't say caregiver, that really sounds, if you're
That's
the
more.
type,
That's no. That's the men who want caregivers when
I
they
know,
get
I'm like,
older.
that word was,
I'm just saying. I
that was
had,
not the word
I
that
have
I
no
meant.
prostate. I have
Yeah.
no eyes. I'm disabled, but marry me.
That
Okay,
was
I'm sorry. Back.
No, no, no.
Get on
You
lane.
are totally right. I don't know why that word came out. What I
Mhm.
mean is you want the more traditional roles.
Right.
And I would say even though I have a job and a career and so does my fiancé,
Mhm.
there's still this element of he's the man, and
Right.
what he does is he asks my opinion on things and he
Right.
respects my opinion.
Right.
And
Exactly.
then I trust him to make a decision that is good for us based on my opinion.
Right.
So he's the man, but it's still an equal partnership.
Right.
But there are women out there that may, I heard a woman say the other day to me, and this is valid, that she believes that men and women just should be the same, treated the same, everything is the same. So
Mhm.
then that's how the first date should be approached.
Okay. Right. Be careful what you ask for, because when when that ceiling light comes out, I'm not getting on the ladder. So careful what you
That's
ask
how
for.
I feel. He was the
Right.
one on the second story putting our hurricane
Careful.
shutters up with these 2 hurricanes. I wasn't up
Yeah.
there. I
I
was
know
holding
that's
the
right.
ladder.
Yeah. Careful what you ask for, ladies, because you'll be out there shoveling snow.
Hello.
Careful.
Yes,
Okay, yeah.
absolutely.
You can always get a delivered food delivered and put it in a pot. You can fake the fake. You
Mhm.
can't fake okay, let me stop. All right.
No, this is why I say people can have different
Yeah,
opinions, but these are mine,
whatever
you
works for
know?
you, do you, boo boo. You know.
Yeah. Mhm.
um, so how can people contact you? Talk to us about the book. Well, how can I best serve you in your purpose?
Thank you. The book is Living Large with Less. It's on
It's on
Amazon.
Amazon.
It has a twist, a focus on how it's okay to do an American version of minimalism and have a larger house, but still be conscious. As for dating, I'm on Instagram. I'm Love Lens Evolution. And my
Great.
email is also lovelensevolution@gmail.com.
We're gonna talk soon because I'm gonna be doing blogs and stuff, and I'd
Mhm.
love to have you contribute. You have
Yeah.
any questions for me? I always ask folks, do you have any questions for me? You can
What would
ask. I don't know my answer. No, I will. I will.
Yeah, no, I love that. What would you say is the most insightful piece of wisdom you've heard about the
Mhm.
Blue Zone community as you're doing these interviews?
I think the main thing is purpose. That's what kind of got me into it
Mhm.
because I personally think the term retirement is an American concept. I
Mm.
think roles change as the
Mhm.
seasons change. So I
Mhm.
think purpose has been the guiding theme, and everyone's purpose is the same, but yet it's different.
Mhm.
I've gotten a chance to talk to folks because I didn't, obviously I know a lot of people in the dental space,
Mhm.
but I wanted it open to everyone. And, because we all have common fears. We have more in common than we have is different. So
Mhm.
purpose is a running theme.
Mhm.
And that's what kind of got me, time is the only, I keep saying it, time is the only commodity that you don't know your balance,
Yeah.
and
Ooh,
you don't want to waste it. Of all the blue zone, which ones would you want to visit or visited? Like which one attracts you, Japan,
Greece?
Greece?
Yeah, absolutely. I've never been. And I had a neighbor when I lived in this apartment for 7 years, and
Mhm,
she and her husband were in their 80s,
mhm.
and they had immigrated here in their 20s, and their stories were just incredible. It was like a
Amazing.
Lifetime movie, and
Right.
she would cook. It was just like my big fat Greek wedding. She'd come knock on my door, and I'd open the door, she'd go, "Extra bread pudding," and she'd hand
Oh,
it to me, and she'd walk away.
I
She would
love
do that all the and then it was this little apartment.
mhm.
She grew this whole garden in the
Really?
whole front. It was like this much space, this whole garden, and she would eat the vegetables and the herbs that she had grown. This is in
Wow.
Florida, like in our
Wow.
sandy, not soily type dirt.
Yeah.
She loved it, and she wasn't on a single medication. She would tell me how she would go to the doctors, and they would almost start arguing with her, like, "You have to
Interesting.
be on something. You can't just be on nothing." And she was on none. She was incredible. So, that's a country I'd love to visit.
That's the blue zone because
Yes.
the whole I tell people the 88 Disability Act is an American concept. When you
Mhm.
travel, the only
Yeah.
place you see handicap ramps is at the American resorts. You don't,
Mm.
they might have a stick, but you don't see. There's no codes or this, that, and the other.
Mhm.
You can determine when people talk about third world countries, it depends on whether a cup of oil or a cup of water is more important.
Mm.
You don't need much oil when it's warm. you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so that was good. That wasn't that fun?
Yes.
See? Purpose,
Amazing.
community, interpersonal relationships, I'm gonna go deep. I want to go places where no one has gone before
I love
because
it.
there's a secret to a contentment, you
Mhm.
know. Happy is too short term, but there's a secret to content.
Yeah.
Living long, living with quality. I tell folks that everybody experiences different. Everybody doesn't experience the same type of isms. There's always kind of isms, but one thing
Mhm.
that's universal, there's an ageism. Only time you
Mm.
don't see well, it could be ageism that we approach people who are young. We have a certain bias,
Mhm.
which I'm right about Generation Z, but that's a whole nother blog. Okay, but we will get older or we will die. That's it,
Mhm.
and it doesn't have to be negative.
Mhm. It's true.
I appreciate you.
You too. This was so great. Thank you.